Have you ever pondered over how the modern political landscape of Somalia was shaped by the forces of colonialism? This is a question that takes us back to the late 19th century, a time when Africa was a chessboard for European powers jockeying for global dominance. The dawn of colonialism in Somalia was not a singular event, but a gradual process that began with the arrival of the British and Italians. These nations, driven by the allure of Africa's untapped resources and the desire to expand their empires, set their sights on Somalia. The Horn of Africa, with its strategic location, beckoned these powers like a jewel in a crown. It was the age of the "scramble for Africa," a term coined to describe the rapid colonization of the continent by European powers. Somalia, with its rich resources and strategic location on the Red Sea and Indian Ocean trade routes, was a prize too enticing to ignore. The British and Italians were not the first to arrive, but they would be the ones to leave the most indelible marks. The British, who had their sights set on protecting their trade routes to India, established their foothold in the north, in what is now Somaliland. The Italians, on the other hand, were more interested in the southern regions of Somalia, seeing an opportunity to expand their fledgling empire. But the arrival of these foreign powers was not met without resistance. The Somali people, fiercely independent and proud, were not about to let their land be taken without a fight. Yet, the superior military technology and organized forces of the Europeans proved too much for the local tribes. The dawn of colonialism in Somalia was marked by a mix of resistance and acquiescence, of battles fought and treaties signed. It was a time of significant change, laying the groundwork for the Somalia we know today. Thus began a chapter of external rule that would significantly alter the course of Somali history. As the European powers established their rule, how did the landscape of Somalia change under their control? The colonial era was a time of profound transformation for Somalia. The land, once a confluence of independent sultanates, was divided like a chessboard between two European powers, Britain and Italy. The northern region, known as British Somaliland, fell under British control, while the southern region became Italian Somaliland. This division was more than just a change in administrative control. It was a complete overhaul of the political, economic, and social fabric of the country. The European powers introduced foreign systems and policies that were alien to the local population. In the north, the British implemented a system of indirect rule, leveraging the existing tribal structures to maintain control. In the south, the Italians pursued a policy of direct rule, attempting to assimilate the local population into Italian culture and society. Economically, the colonial powers exploited Somalia's resources for their own benefit. The fertile lands were transformed into vast plantations for the cultivation of bananas, cotton, and other cash crops. These were exported back to Europe, generating wealth for the colonial powers, but leaving little for the local population. Socially, the colonial rule had a profound impact on the Somali people. Traditional norms and customs were often disregarded or suppressed, replaced with foreign ideals and practices. The Somali language was sidelined, with English and Italian becoming the languages of administration and education. These changes were not welcomed by the Somali people. They were a proud and independent people with a rich history and culture that they cherished. The imposition of foreign rule was seen as an affront to their dignity and sovereignty. It was a bitter pill to swallow, and it sparked a flame of resistance that would eventually lead to a series of uprisings against the colonial powers. While colonial rule brought about drastic changes, it also sparked the flames of resistance. In the face of foreign rule, how did the spirit of resistance manifest in Somalia? Enter the Dervish movement, an uprising that would come to symbolize the spirit of resistance in Somalia against colonial rule. At the turn of the 20th century, a charismatic religious leader emerged in the Somali lands. His name was Sayyid Muhammad Abdullah Hassan, and he would go on to spearhead the Dervish movement. What started as a religious movement soon evolved into a political force, rallying Somalis against the encroaching colonial powers. Sayyid Hassan, often called the Mad Mullah by his adversaries, was not just a religious leader. He was a poet and a politician, using his skills to inspire and unite Somalis. He used his poetry to communicate his political thoughts, stirring up a sense of nationalism and resistance among the people. The Dervish movement was marked by significant battles and strategic maneuvers. One of the most notable was the Battle of Dol-Madoba in 1913, where the Dervish forces, vastly outnumbered, managed to inflict heavy losses on the British forces. This victory boosted the morale of the Dervish fighters and was a testament to their resilience and determination. Sayyid Hassan also introduced innovative military strategies. He built fortified settlements, known as Taleh, across the interior of Somalia. These served as both defensive structures and administrative centers for the Dervish state, showcasing the movement's ambitions to establish a self-governing Somali entity. However, the Dervish movement faced numerous challenges and was eventually defeated. The British, using air power for the first time in Africa, launched a relentless bombing campaign that led to the fall of the Dervish state in 1920. Despite this, the Dervish movement left an indelible mark on Somali resistance. It had rallied the Somali people, inspiring them to stand against foreign intrusion. It laid the foundation for future resistance movements and continues to be a symbol of Somali nationalism. The Dervish movement, though eventually defeated, left an indelible mark on Somali resistance. What other forms of resistance were seen in Somali territories during the colonial era? In the shadow of the Dervish movement, other uprisings flickered into existence, each one a beacon of resistance against colonial rule. Take, for instance, the Northern Frontier District, or NFD, in Kenya. This region, predominantly inhabited by ethnic Somalis, was a hotbed of anti-colonial activity. The NFD became a battleground of ideas, a place where the fight for independence was not just a physical conflict, but a war of ideologies. People came together, united by a common cause, to resist the colonial powers. The NFD rebellion, which began in earnest in the mid-20th century, was a testament to the resilience and determination of the Somali people. The rebellion was no small feat. It was a collective effort, a mass movement that saw men and women, young and old, standing up against the might of the colonial powers. Despite the odds stacked against them, they showed remarkable resolve, engaging in guerrilla warfare and using their intimate knowledge of the land to their advantage. These uprisings were not isolated events. They were part of a larger narrative, a broader struggle for independence that was taking place across Somali territories. Each rebellion, each act of defiance, was a thread in the tapestry of resistance that would ultimately lead to the decolonization process. The uprisings in the NFD and other Somali territories were instrumental in shaping the course of history. They showed the world that the Somali people were not passive subjects of colonial rule, but active participants in their own destiny. They fought for their rights, for their freedom, and in doing so, they changed the face of East Africa. The fight for independence was a long and arduous journey, marked by bloodshed and sacrifice. But it was also a journey of hope, of resilience, and of the indomitable spirit of the Somali people. And it all began with these uprisings, these small sparks of resistance that would eventually ignite the flame of independence. These uprisings were instrumental in the journey towards Somali independence. How did the colonial era and these uprisings shape modern Somalia? As we delve into the heart of the story, we find ourselves contemplating the profound impact of the colonial era and the uprisings on contemporary Somalia. This period, fraught with conflict and resistance, indelibly shaped the nation's trajectory. A significant legacy of colonial rule is the division of Somalia into 5 different territories by the British, Italians, and Ethiopians, a division that continues to influence Somali politics today. The struggle for reunification has been a recurring theme in Somali history, a flame kindled by the colonial era and fanned by the uprisings. The colonial era also brought about changes in the economic landscape. The introduction of a cash economy, the development of infrastructure, and the integration into global trade networks were all byproducts of colonial rule. However, these changes also led to economic disparities and a reliance on foreign goods, challenges that Somalia continues to grapple with. The uprisings, particularly the Dervish movement, have left an indelible mark on Somali society. They fostered a sense of national identity and unity, fueling the aspirations for independence. The courage and resilience displayed by the Dervish warriors continue to inspire the Somali people, their stories serving as a potent symbol of resistance against foreign domination. Yet it's crucial to acknowledge the human cost of these uprisings. Many lives were lost, families were torn apart, and communities were uprooted. The scars of this period run deep, a poignant reminder of the sacrifices made for independence. In the political sphere, the anti-colonial uprisings, including those in the Northern Frontier District region in Kenya, laid the groundwork for the emergence of a nationalistic political consciousness. This consciousness paved the way for Somalia's eventual independence and continues to shape its political discourse. The echoes of the colonial era and the uprisings continue to reverberate in today's Somalia, a testament to the resilience and spirit of its people.